Picture a man worth 35 billion pounds. He owns a palace just steps from Buckingham Palace. He owns the very building where Winston Churchill ran a world war. A king sends him personal messages. Prime ministers show up to his parties. And yet, this man never touched a single drop of alcohol in his entire life. He never ate a piece of meat. For decades, he lived under the same roof as his brothers, prayed every single morning, and quietly built one of the largest fortunes on planet Earth. This is the richest Asian man in London. A man most people in Britain could not pick out of a crowd. His name is Gopichand Hinduja, and the story of how four brothers from a dusty trading town that barely exists on the map anymore climbed to the very top of the United Kingdom is one of the strangest empires money has ever built. This is Asian Dynasty, and I promise you, the higher we climb on this story, the more unbelievable it gets. By the end, you will understand why this family is treated like royalty and why almost no one knows their name. To understand the Hindujas, you have to go back more than 100 years to a place called Shikarpur. It was a small trading town in the region of Sindh in what was then undivided India. There were no towers here, no banks, no oil, just merchants, dust, and the old art of buying low in one country and in selling high in another. In 1914, a young trader named Gopichand Hinduja started a small business dealing in commodities. Just one man trading goods. That is the entire beginning of a 35 billion pound empire. One man in a town you have never heard of in the year the First World War began. But Gopichand had one big idea that would define everything that came after. He looked beyond India. In 1919, he opened his first office abroad in Iran. Think about that. A century ago, before phones, before planes for ordinary people, this man was already building a business across borders. That single instinct to never stay still, to always go where the money was moving, became the family's secret weapon. And it was in his blood. The merchants of Shikarpur were once famous across all of Asia. For generations, traders from that single town ran credit and goods along the old routes that stretched from India deep into Central Asia. They were the bankers of the caravan world, so when Gopichand Hinduja crossed into Iran with a ledger and a handshake, he was not gambling. He was doing exactly what his people had done for centuries. He was just doing it bigger. For decades, the Hindujas built quietly out of Iran, trading goods, finance, and eventually films across the Middle East. They were rich by any normal measure, but they were not global, not yet. And then history did them a favor disguised as a disaster. In the late 1970s, revolution swept through Iran. The world the Hindujas had built there was suddenly unsafe. So in 1979, the four brothers made the move that changed everything. They picked up the entire operation and shifted their headquarters to London. By now, the business had passed to Gophichand's four sons: Richest, the eldest, Gopichand, the dealmaker, Prakash, who would run Europe, and Ashok, who would anchor India. Four brothers, one fortune, one rule that we will come back to, because that rule eventually nearly tore them apart. London was the launchpad. From a grand address in the heart of the city, the brothers stopped being traders and started becoming owners. And in 1984, they made the deal that put them on the global map. They acquired the international rights to one of the most famous names in the world, Gulf Oil, that orange and blue badge you have seen on race cars and gas stations for generations. Suddenly, four vegetarian brothers from Shikarpur controlled a global oil brand. That was the moment the Hindujas crossed over from wealthy to powerful. And they were just getting started, because owning oil was only the first piece. Watch how fast the empire spreads. In 1987, the family took control of a struggling truck maker back in India called Ashok Leyland. They did not just buy it, they fixed it. Today, it is one of the largest commercial vehicle makers in the entire country and one of the biggest bus manufacturers in the world. The buses and trucks that move millions of people across India every single day. That is a Hinduja company. The boy from Shikarpur now built the roads of a nation. Then came banking. In 1994, the family launched IndusInd Bank, one of India's major private banks now used by tens of millions of customers. They already owned a private bank in Switzerland, founded back in 1978. Then technology, with a global outsourcing giant. Then power, then media, then healthcare, then real estate. Stack it all together, and the scale becomes almost hard to believe. The Hinduja Group today spans dozens of countries, with well over 200,000 employees across roughly a dozen different industries: oil, trucks, banks, power plants, hospitals. It is not a company, it is a private nation. And here is where the story gets truly remarkable, because we are now halfway up this climb, and I want you to ask yourself one question as we go higher. How does a family this powerful stay almost completely invisible? If this is making you rethink what real wealth looks like, tell me in the comments where you think the richest hidden families really live. because what comes next is the part that earns this family the word royalty. Let me show you where the Hindujas actually live. In the very center of London, there is a row of grand white mansions called Carlton House Terrace. It overlooks the Mall, the ceremonial road that leads straight to Buckingham Palace. This is some of the most historic, some most protected real estate in the entire country, and the Hindujas hold numbers 13 through 16. Let that sink in. The family owns a block of palaces a short walk from where the king lives. Outside, there are statues of British royalty. And the family placed a statue of Lakshmi, the Hindu goddess of wealth, right there among them. A goddess of fortune standing in the heart of the British establishment. Every year inside those mansions, the Hindujas host a Diwali celebration that has become legendary. Hundreds of guests, members of parliament, ambassadors from dozens of countries, business titans, the mayor of London, and in recent years, King Charles himself sent the family a personal Diwali message delivered by his own private secretary. There are politicians in Britain who would do almost anything for an invitation to that party, but the crown jewel literally is the building they bought next. In 2014, the Hindujas purchased the Old War Office on Whitehall from the British government for around £350 million. This is not just any building. This is where Winston Churchill ran Britain's war machine, where spies and generals walked the halls. The James Bond connection alone makes it iconic, and then the family spent over £1 billion more transforming it. The full project, from purchase to finish, ran well past £1 billion and took the better part of a decade. They turned Churchill's War Office into Raffles London at the Old War Office, an ultra-luxury hotel with around 120 rooms, plus 85 of the most expensive private residences in the city. Some of those homes were listed for tens of millions of pounds each. They took the building where Britain fought for survival, and they made it theirs. If that is not pure royalty, I do not know what is. So now picture the full image. £35 billion. Palaces by Buckingham Palace. The King's War Office turned into their hotel. Messages from the throne. This family sits at the absolute summit of British wealth. They have topped the Sunday Times Rich List as the richest family in the entire United Kingdom, year after year. And here is the twist that makes them my favorite kind of story. With all of that, they live like almost none of it touched them. All four brothers were strict vegetarians. Not one of them ever drank alcohol. They were deeply religious men who prayed every morning before they ever looked at a deal. For years, they did not scatter across the world in separate empires. They worked together, ate together, and famously believed in keeping the family under one roof. Their father had left them a simple code: faith first. Family first. The business is just the tool. There is one phrase they lived by, written into a family pact. Everything belongs to everyone and nothing belongs to anyone. No single brother owned his share alone. It all belonged to the family as one. A £35 billion fortune, and not one of them could truly call any of it just his own. Think about the discipline that takes. You could buy any meal on earth and you choose lentils and rice. You could drink the rarest wine in the world and you never take a sip. You own the King's War Office and you go home to pray. That is not poverty. That is control. The Hindujas understood something most rich people never learn: that real power is quiet, and the loudest thing in the room is usually the weakest. And this is the part that should stay with you. The frugality was never the point. It was the engine. Every pound they did not waste on showing off, they poured back into the next deal, the next country, the next generation. Most fortunes die because the children spend what the parents earned. The Hindujas build a culture designed to stop exactly that. The rules came first, the money came second, and because of that order, the money kept coming. But even the strongest families are still families. And that same beautiful rule, everything belongs to everyone, became the thing that nearly broke them. In 2020, the world got a rare look inside. A dispute spilled into a London court. The eldest brother, Richest, and his daughter wanted that old family letter declared meaningless. The three younger brothers had pointed to the pact to settle control of the family's Swiss bank. For a moment, the most united family in British business looked like it might split apart over the very promise that had held it together. In the end, lawyers said the family agreed to effectively tear the arrangement up and step back from the fight. The dynasty held, barely, and then time did what no rival ever could. In 2023, Richest, the eldest brother, passed away at 87. And in late 2025, Gopichand, the dealmaker, the public face of the family, the man Britain knew as the head of its richest dynasty, passed away too, at 85. Within a few short years, two of the four brothers who built the modern empire were gone. But here is the thing about a dynasty. It is built to outlive the people who started. The Hinduja name still sits at the top of Britain's wealth. The palaces still stand on Carlton House Terrace. The Lakshmi statue still watches the mall. And a new generation now carries a fortune that began with one trader in one dusty town with one idea. So what does the Hinduja story really mean? It is easy to look at 35 billion pounds and only see the number, but the lesson hiding inside this family is older than any of their companies. They never let the money change who they were. They started as traders who crossed borders, and a century later, the great-grandchildren still cross borders. They prayed in the morning, and they signed deals in the afternoon, and they never confused the two. The richest Asian man in London did not look rich. He did not sound rich. He ate simple food, kept his faith, and let the empire speak for itself. And maybe that is the real secret of every great dynasty. The world remembers the fortune, but the family remembers the rules that built it. If this story surprised you, you're going to want to see the other hidden empires we have uncovered. Tell me in the comments which family should we investigate next. And stay with Asian Dynasty, because there are fortunes out there far stranger and far quieter than you could ever imagine.